Um, Ready? I'm gonna run the
Yeah.
intro. I'm gonna run the intro, and then we
So this meeting Zoom thing, is this gonna go away?
What do you see?
I'm seeing this meeting is being recorded.
Oh, just if you hit OK, it goes away. Just acknowledge it as being recorded. That's it.
Yeah, I've never really done
it. It gives you opportunity to tap out. It's been recorded. Oh, I got warrant. Now, boop.
Can't let my baby mama see this.
Get it right. Nigga, y'all recording? I gotta go.
One of the worst, and I can say this before we do the show because she watches now. One of the worst things I did was bringing her on board. Now she watches, and I can't say because
I'm gonna play with that one. That's
punished.
That's funny in itself. That's hilarious.
I'm already being punished, bro.
All right, we're gonna just make it part of the show. Hey, let's go.
I think you need to say clearly what happened.
Who gives a fuck?
I don't care if you personally kick Candace Owens and her stinky
cray.
No good thing starts with, I was thinking about my ex.
He ain't learned his lesson. That's a brother ain't gonna learn shit.
I know this is gonna be about you and I don't care.
Let's keep this shit funky.
What's poppin'? What's unpoppin'? What's craculating? Welcome to another episode of Unpopin Show, home of unpopular opinions. I am T Storm, and joined by my brother, as always, DJ Mike Swift.
What's poppin', bro? What's going on, man?
All good, all good. And we have a very special guest in the building today. Mike, would you do the honors, please? Because this is this was your real in moment. You know.
This, so I tell all these stories, on the show that start with, so I was sitting at the bar.
Right.
And this story actually starts with I was sitting at the bar. And in fact, I think I told the story on the show before. I'm sitting at the bar. I'm there one night. This was what, 2020? Dave, yeah. It was like early 2020, yeah. I think, before COVID, before it's,
right before it.
Yeah. So I'm chilling and I hear these two gentlemen talking. One's, a younger cat, one's an OG from the conversation. I'm like, oh, this cat's an OG in the game. And they said something and it pulled me into the conversation. Now all three of us are talking music and production and all of this stuff. And I look at my man and I say, we didn't do the introduction or whatever. He says, I'm Dave West. I was like, know that name. And the conversation goes a little bit further. And then you mentioned De La Soul. And I was like, oh shit. That's Dave West. We chopped it up about music. Fast forward to a couple of nights ago, I'm sitting at the bar, walks in, and I'm like, Dave. And then we get to chopping it up again. And I was like, yo, man, you got to come be on the show. And he is here. Mr. Supa Dave West is in the building.
What up? Thanks for having me, fellas.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, brother.
So for everybody who might not know the face, I tell you, you know the sound, you know the music. Mos Def, Ghostface Killer, Talib, E40, Fife, Slum Village, Jay Dilla, Eric Roberson, Jim Jones, Michelle Indigeo-Cello, and the legendary De La Soul. Like that's just part of the list of the people you've worked with and done music for.
Yeah.
That's a few things.
It's a little
couple.
That's a few things. Nah, that's monumental. Stand up, goddamn
it. Thank you, bro.
I caught a joint I didn't know you did. Was it Ice Water or on Raekwon?
Oh yeah.
Raekwon and Remy Ma.
Yeah, that's right before she went up. That was supposed to be a single in the whole deal.
Oh wow.
And that's when that thing happened, and she had to go sit down. Do that bid.
Yes. She seemingly has grown up a lot since then.
Oh, yes.
There's a different Remy Ma out here right now.
Oh, yeah, like Mother Teresa or something. Like, go now and sin no more. But I just cut you. Go on anyway.
Right. I remember when that ordeal happened, for those who may not be privy. Allegedly, Remy shot someone for stealing something. Allegedly. I remember I was at Hot 97 at the time, right before she went in, and she would come on the morning show. I was working with the morning show. Miss Jones, shout out to Miss Jones, and he'd go on the air, and it was very unapologetic, like.
I'm okay. Like, everybody is wondering why I'm not on the floor crying my eyes out, because I know that I'm a good person. I know God knows I got a good heart. Right. And my intentions wasn't to come out and go shoot somebody or anything up. Like, never. And I never unintentionally shot nobody in me. Like, and I never unintentionally shot nobody in me. Like, and I never unintentionally shot nobody in me. Like she got shot twice. She was not shot twice. She has a graze wound on her thigh, the top of her thigh, that entered into her stomach. Now, just picture if you're in a passenger seat and someone's in the driver's seat and they end up with a graze wound, a vertical graze wound on their thigh that ends up in their stomach. Does that sound like somebody who got in your car and tried to shoot you? A graze wound means the bullet had to touch the top of that part of your skin. Whatever.
She didn't say, yeah, I shot the bitch, but it felt like it had that energy, like she had it coming. I was like, ooh. But yeah, shout out.
If somebody takes your shit,
hey, listen.
I think they kind of asking for a bullet in the ass. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and she didn't kill her. It wasn't allegedly. It's like a graze.
It was a flesh wound.
Flesh wound. She walked away. She was able to walk away from it, hollering, "Oh, but she shot me." If you could walk away, you won.
That's funny.
That purse was worth it. Was the purse worth a bullet in the ass? Yes, it was. Okay, so she got what she. I'm tripping.
So look, obviously, I want to talk about the music. I want to get into some stories of studio stories and all that kind of stuff. And I think we talked about this a little bit at the bar. One of the reasons that I like to have people on is to kind of talk about their journey, talk about their story. A lot of young cats see the end result. Right? Like, they see the money, but they don't see the sacrifice, the struggle, the hard work, the discipline to get there. And especially for people who start, a little bit behind the starting line, like they got to work a little bit harder. So, I feel like people's stories is kind of a roadmap where people can take different parts of that success story away, add it to their lives, and get a step further. So I want to start, like, how did you get into music? How did all this start?
I man, I never talked about this in this way, but I was pretty troubled emotionally as a child going into young adulthood. So very frustrated. I was adopted. So I was very disconnected identity-wise as far as my family and that's concerned, and a lot of trying to figure out who I was. And it kind of started in the music room in high school, and the teacher, I forget his name, he used to actually gig with Miles and all that. He's legendary out of Queens, New York. But yeah, he used to just let me come in, like, come on in. He saw it in my spirit, like, yo, come on in. Let me take you out of the storm for a minute. Just come in here and I started beating the drums out of frustration, like, literally. And it started becoming music. I started playing drums. And like a year later, I got so good that I was, about a year after that, I was on tour. So I started off as a drummer. And that fused into the whole church scene. I played in, drums in church or whatever. Started off as a tour drummer between 93 all the way up to 2004-ish, 2005-ish. I was touring. In the middle of that, I was doing music too. And I started there somewhere around 95-ish. I got a EPS. I got an Sonic EPS.
Oh, I remember those.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was
it the 16 plus or the original EPS?
No, it was the original one. is the original one with the crunchy bit rate that sounded beautiful. And it eventually turned into the ASR 10, right?
Yeah.
But that was short lived because then that 2000 came out, and that sample time and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that freedom, that was the machine. Somewhere in there, around, I guess, 90, 96, 97, I had a record deal. I got good at that. I got good at that. And I formed a group with my ex-wife, my daughter's mom, and her brother, called Hot Sauce. And we're from Queens, so we was cool with especially their people. They was cool with Fife and whatever. They all went to church with each other. So we ended up landing a deal with Museum Music with Q-Tip through Elektra Records. So in '97, I had a whole record deal, and then that turned into something happened, and we ain't got. I mean, but it was sweet moments in that. Like I was in the B room in Electric Lady while D'Angelo was in the A room recording Voodoo. Like that's how that went. You know what I mean? So, that deal didn't go correctly, and then somewhere in there, Fife had some music for me, and God bless the dead, Fudge was Dave's first cousin that died, was Fife's manager at the time. So Dave is at Fudge's house. He's with Fudge at Fife's house and listening to my beats. And then I get a call in my basement apartment in Queens. And he's like, yo, these three right here, what's good with this? Like, you know what I'm saying? And that turned into Copacabana and like You Can Do Life or something else, you know?
Rest in peace to Fudge. Rest in peace to Fudge and Fife, man. Fudge was cool. I met him in Atlanta, man. Him and Fife was moving around, and always a very cool dude. Anytime I seen him out, welcoming. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He was that dude. So to answer your question, in a nutshell, I just went from kind of being troubled, and God gave me music, and it started off as a drum thing. And then that opened up my musicality really big. Like in the middle of that whole drum thing, I was like, MD and stuff and putting together bands. So it just taught me a lot about music construction. So going into production, it was nothing. Like it was just all there,
So I want to go back a little bit because I know for me it was going from sitting on my couch essentially to getting on the radio. That opportunity was put in front of me, but it was absolutely terrifying, right? Like that thought in the back of your head that like you don't hear what other people hear in you and that you won't measure up and you'll get out there and you make a fool of yourself. Did you experience that going from beating on the drums, learning how to play drums to touring? And I think around the time you toured with Faith.
Yeah, I played with Faith, the first album or two.
I mean, you're saying like a small thing, you know what I mean? But you experience any of those types of feelings?
Well, it's the stomping ground was the church, right? Stomping ground were like down here. They had like where did Lil Jon and them used to hit at? What was the spot? It was Kaya, and it was this other spot.
Come on,
that was like
Yin Yang Cafe.
Yin Yang, that Yin Yang.
Yeah.
Okay, in New York, there's a spot called Wilson's that was the New York version of Yin Yang. All the way out, like Mary J. Blige, Carl Thomas, all these people got discovered there the same way India Irie and Donnie and all of them. It's the same thing in New York. So I came through that. So I came through having to rip and having to play and having to be good to get gigs. And you know what I'm saying? And in church, it was the same thing, like dangerous ass musicians that was just crazy with it. So you had to like really practice and I was practicing like 8 hours a day. Seriously. I did that for like a year, and then I started gigging. So my confidence for I knew I could play at that point. It was not going on tour was just bananas. Like we was just ripping. You know what I mean? I broke at least 5 pairs of sticks every time we did Faye set because we was digging in it. Like that whole, I remember the Used to Love Me and all that. The way we was pocketing that, I was breaking sticks all night, digging into that, you know? So it's just kind of like a New York gritty kind of aggressive. The church scene is like that from musician side. So by the time you get to the road, your crew is an animal. Y'all ready to do anything with it.
I know I'm jumping around because you said like, so when you were talking about practicing 8 hours a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
It made me think of this Dipset Locks verses.
Right.
You could look at the Locks and tell that them dudes had been rehearsing. They had been practicing. They had been going over it over and over. And you could tell Dipset didn't. Like, did you get a chance to see it? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you could tell they're friends. You could tell that there's a, you know, like I'll use De La as that example. They still know each other. You know, they're like cousins. They're not like just friends off the block. Like there's this real family vibration there. So the same way you would know your cousin, like, oh, he about to do this. I know when he's in this mood, he gonna do. Like you know what somebody's gonna do on stage. You just know how to read them, and you can hone in quicker on when it's rusty. Like, yo, we need to run this down again. Like we losing the feel for how that used to go. You could see it. You could see it. It was there for it because they wanted to represent for the city. It was that kind of a moment.
Yeah.
And it was that kind of a moment because the moments have been far and in between when it comes to New York being the mecca of that. So it's like this moment, we can't waste this moment at all. Like not one bit.
Yeah. They took it very serious. They were there to perform. They were there to put on a great show. And they accomplished that. And I mean, not for nothing. I mean, they were honed. They were taught by the best of how to do shows and stuff. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know. Not taking anything away from Dipset and how their shows have been in the past, but that moment, that night was not their best.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Plus it's the Garden, fellas. You got to understand.
On top of
New York City and the emotions behind the Garden, like that's like the peak of performance. We got to rock at Madison Square Garden. It's every MC's wet dream. Period.
And not only that, like I mean, the Garden is historic in its own right. But if you pay attention to the room, that's the same room where the Source Awards took place. You know, all these infamous, you know, moments in history where Suge took a shot at Diddy and all these different things that happened at the Garden. That's the same. It was the same room at the Garden where they were performing. It was a lot there. So this goes down as another big moment in the Garden.
Of course. Yeah, that's like being in the studio where Led Zeppelin did all their albums at. You don't think there's some funk in that studio? You know what I mean? It's in the walls. It's in the wallpaper.
Speaking of De La, one two-part question. One, I'd like to know how did coming to work with De La, how did that begin? And two, what like your thoughts on now, like just recently, after fighting, they got the rights to their catalog. How did you link up with them, and how does them getting their catalogs, how does that affect you now?
I met them it was back to that moment where Fife was playing my music, and I think Dave thought it was JD. He thought it was JD at first, some of it. And then he heard another component in the music. He was like, nah, that's not Jay, but whoever that is, like, and then Fife was like, oh, that's Dave West. You know what I mean? And then he called me. So when he called me, it was like, yo, we got these sessions set up, come down to the stew. And that's when we met. That's when we met.
What album was that? What album was that for them?
That was probably Artificial Intelligence.
Yeah.
You know, those first two was Artificial Intelligence and Bionics. So it
Yeah.
was definitely a Mosaic Thump, I believe. And you know what I'm saying? After that, I guess what the question you were asking is like their freedom is like you have to understand. I have been in the seat with them since late 98, you know? So that's a lot of years of experiences, a lot of private jokes to share, turmoil, us knowing each other's real business, talking each other off the ledges. Like I'm literally a part of that crew a certain way. You know what I mean? I'm not just a work for hire producer per se. You know, I'm like we're real friends. You know, and so seeing them win in this way, you know, think about the integrity and the grit. You guys know what grit is, right? Like the
Yeah.
grit thing is like your grandfather built this knowing he's not going to live to see it. He's building it for the next couple generations.
Right.
Grit, the ability to see it all the way through. Imagine knowing that you're not going to see a certain amount of bread off of these records and you still make the commitment in your heart and spirit and to God to make this bomb ass hip hop music. Knowing that that's the publishing situation, that's the master situation, and you're going to have to hustle this out on the road.
Yeah.
Right. That's what was happening. Like we was making these records with them knowing that that's what the case was. It never stopped their spirit. It never stopped their drive. It never stopped the hot shit, knowing what records to pick, how to mix them, the whole grind all the way through. It never stopped. None of that. They was working like they had $1 million a record. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And
So they knew.
To,
Y'all knew as you were doing the records, like this is, you know, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know that part of it.
as far as what?
What you just
Like
said, like as
yeah,
you were making the music, you understood
Mhm.
what was happening on the back end of it. That wasn't going to really play out in your favor just yet.
Yeah, for them, it wasn't going to be the best situation until what happened just happened. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of those deals, you have to, like, the label takes a certain percentage of your publishing
Mhm.
for the deal. So they,
Mhm.
you know, when they signed the deal, they kind of knew that going in, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. But to feel it and see it come full circle, to start there, and then what, last week
Yeah.
to
Amazing.
finally get it, to finally get the rights to your stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like your emotions, your thoughts, your music, your creativity, to get the rights
Mhm.
back. That had to feel amazing.
Mm-hmm. It's not, and none of that, and that stuff has never been streamed. It's never been online. It's never been anywhere.
Right.
This is the equivalent of dropping 5 albums at the same time, and they all go gold at the same time.
Wow.
That's what's going to happen when it hits this world. Like the fans are going to eat that up.
Oh man, I can't wait. Me and Mike have talked about this before. I remember some years ago, and one I'm a huge De La fan. I mean, that's the era of my youth. When as a teenager, I grew up in Brooklyn. I was always a fan of De La, right? And so some years ago, I think it was probably like 2014, whatever, I saw something, they put something out like they were giving away their catalog if you joined their email or whatever. So I submitted
Yeah.
that real quick and got the entire catalog. Then I started seeing the campaign to get their catalog back, to have the rights so it will go online and all these, and watching every update that they put out on social media of the negotiation didn't go. So we got a meeting today. We're gonna see how it goes. Oh, it didn't go so good. We still fighting it. Oh, we're gonna be on what's the cartoon?
Teen Titans Go.
Teen Titans Go. I watched that. I saved that episode. And then finally to say, yo, they got their stuff. I'm just as happy for them. So it was really cool to see this happen.
It's amazing, bro. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's a moment made for a real artist. It's a triumph. We've heard enough nightmare stories. It's a triumphant one. You know what I mean? Like even in the middle of the adversity, just to find the strength to keep going and then the win is incredible. It's incredible.
Do we?
And so deserved. You know what I'm saying?
Do you believe that it is like a marking point, like the bar has been raised? Do you think it is uh the moment for other people who've been essentially jerked around to now try and you know, is do we think the outcome will be different for other people because it was different for Daylight, it was different for Chappelle, right? I'm sure that
Yeah.
had something to do
Right,
with
right.
it because it's a moment in time
Yeah.
where wrongs are being righted and the scales of justice are starting to come to the middle.
Of course. Yeah. I honestly believe in what you're saying, and it is. And the world is making a statement, like the universe itself. Like, we just lost DMX, Bismarck, and Shock G just right now. Like, not even
Ecstasy.
yeah, I'm just saying, like, immediately when I can
Yeah.
rattle off 5 names or 4 names, that's
Yeah.
a problem.
Yeah.
So that means that some of that is take care of your OGs. Some of that is, the deals that they had. Those deals that they had, back in the day. I ain't gonna mention no labels, but the kind of situations they might have been in, right? It's like, yes, the awareness is up for sticking together, holding your integrity tight, not breaking up, rectifying situations and working through it with grace and style. You know what I mean? De La's a poster child for all of that. Breaking up, what does that mean? Like, we've been friends since before high school. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there is no breaking up. If we break up, I'm gonna run into you in the neighborhood anyway. Like, we're not breaking up. You know what I'm saying? So people sticking together like that energy that we saw with the Locks, it has to just, it's a big statement being made. And in hip hop, like original hip hop, like G code hip hop, I call it, I don't want to call it old school and all of that. I call it original, B-boy hip hop. Is a lot of statements being made,
Yeah. I call it true school. You know what I mean? Like, I like to call it
Yeah.
true school. But now I feel you. I feel you on that. It's, there's definitely an art to it. I think to a certain degree lost. And I hate to, get into this conversation sound like the old man, back in my days. I understand that some of the music these days, you know what I'm saying, is not for us. It's not for me. I can understand why the kids, I have 2 grown children. I have two grown sons that in their 20s. And I completely understand how they why they dig the music they do. Let Mike back in. What happened? Yeah. I completely get it, and I also understand that some of the stuff that's out right now is not for me, but I understand the appeal. But even even with that, I've said it.
I mean, our parents felt like a Tribe Called Quest fucked jazz up. You remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I had older people that were just like, what did they do to the jazz music? What's that, man? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think
Totally
what's fun. What's funny? My mom, Motown was her era.
Right.
Motown was her era, and so I think because of that, and she was so young when she had me, she slightly identified and understood the music I was listening to a certain degree.
Mhm.
Because at that time, the Motown, the James Brown, those was that was being sampled and reused and repurposed in hip hop.
Right.
And so now I guess it's our turn. So I'm hearing stuff from the 2000s and 90s being sampled and reused. I heard a PD Pablo record sampled. I'm like, it's too soon, in my opinion.
Wow.
Like, it's, you
That's
know what I mean?
crazy.
Yeah, but it's about right, because that's at least what, 15 plus years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like, people have the nerve to sample Outkast records and all of that, Like, it's nothing.
I do. Love Below.
My heart is still attached to that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, that album.
I know.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, you can't sample that yet.
But again, to the point, our parents and grandparents felt the same way about their eras of music,
Of course.
the Motown and the jazz music. That's your point. So, who is there anybody that you've been listening to now that you dig, or you know what I'm saying, pressed by? Or that you would want to work with?
I really like Drake's musicality for the rhyme thing. Like, he's hearing the same, like him and his producer are hearing colors in a very special fashion. And it's a testament to how many hits they've cranked out. They just don't miss. You know what I'm saying? I like the musicality of that. I like Travis Scott's stuff is mixed immaculately. You know what I'm saying? Like, have you ever heard the mixes on some of his records?
Yeah.
They're like worlds. They're like really mixed well, and the production overall is really good, real quality. I like Playboy Cardi because the trap of the beat is a certain style. It's just like, it's kind of like that loop thing. It's a loop. It's a hip hop thing with his shit. And so I like Playboy Cardi, you know? But other than that, I'm listening to like Unknown Mortal Orchestra. I'm listening to a bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? I'm listening to, classical renditions. You know, it's this series I've been watching on YouTube. It's just like 8 musicians, and they're playing like this classical performance art type of thing. It's like really interesting, sonically like tantalizing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it kind of goes from there back into the art of noise, and that whole digi pop. Back to all the way back around to BAM and all of that. Soul Sonic 4. So it kind of keeps me revolving around in this thing. Like the beat from Soul Sonic Force is really the same thing that Jermaine Dupri and them was doing, the same thing that Miami Bass is doing. Same, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like just studying the textures of how these all still play out. You know what I mean? How Detroit techno and Chicago house is really EDM. You know what I'm saying? Like
absolutely.
So it just has me in a constant place of studying and not being really opinionated to the point where I cancel myself out of the beauty of what music is supposed to do. It just made me look, because I have a 22-year-old as well. So it made me look into like, why does she like this music? Let me not fight it. Let me see what it is that's good to her. She's getting a vibration from somewhere. And once I started doing that, I wasn't so critical about certain things. Certain things I just don't like,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you one of the proudest moments I noticed. I have a 22, a 24, and a 4-year-old.
Whoa.
Yeah, man.
Whoa, caller. Hold on, caller.
Yeah, man. And one of the coolest things, so my 4-year-old listens to whatever I listen to, but he gets into it. One of his favorite records right now is Don't Sweat the Techniques. He'll ask for that in the car. We'll be riding, and Tahir will be like, yo, play Don't Sweat the Techniques. I'll play that. But one of the proudest moments is to hear my two 20-year-olds, 20 plus year olds playing music that I listened to growing up and really be into it. Like they like all the new shit now, but then I see them vibing to Tribe. I see them vibing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, and this is like unprompted because they heard me playing it. They see I'm as a DJ, they see me playing it. They see me, when I do my old school sets, and then they been exposed to it, within the video games and the movies and all these different things. To see them vibing out to it on their own, it's like, wow. Have you had a moment like that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, I'm trying to remember the record right now. I think it was, what record was that? My daughter went ape shit over Brooklyn Zoo.
Word.
Like real I was like, okay, now this is such and such. This is hip hop music. I'm gonna give you a couple of different examples. There's extremes to this. So I'm playing her Tribe. I'm playing her a bunch of stuff. I was like, now some of this is so hard. It's gonna make, even though this is considered right now still underground classics, this level of hard is gonna make that sound almost like pop music, right? So understand the grunge I'm about to let you hear. I threw on that boom, 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 boom. And that beat hit, she was like, whoop, whoop. She went crazy. And it sends me videos of her and her mom, you know, in the car, banging, shame on you, will you step? They cursing in the whole shit. Like,
Well done.
but then she's a total Drake fan. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like a total Drake head, like for real.
Yeah. Not for nothing. Drake has been, at this point, he's been in the game popping over 10 years now.
Over 10 years, yeah.
Drake is about to break every record in music. He is, man. He's about to break them all. R. Kelly was on his way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he slipped into
now he's on the solitary confinement.
He's on his prison tour right now. So
yeah, you know, he's touring the Orange Suit tour. But it's like, it's what it is. Like Drake is just one of them dudes that is the standard for a lot of different. You know what I'm saying? Because Wayne was that GOAT. Remember when Wayne was doing that campaign where he was on that run on everybody's record, like doing verses?
Yeah.
And then he was gracious enough to bring Drake into like the people's eyesight to let them see like, yo, this is the youngin' under me too. It's the one writing some of this. He like really let him have the platform. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but there's a beauty in that. People don't usually do that. They want to they don't see the future. Like Wayne had to see a bit of the future to know like, yo, I'm giving birth to something and then I'm gonna have to step away because he's really gonna take this shit over. You know what I'm saying? And I can't be intimidated by that. I just gotta be who I am. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think about Wayne selling his catalog? I think he sold his catalog for what? 60 million or something like that, 600 million, something. I can't remember the price, but he sold his catalog last year.
Well, this is what I'm saying. A lot of people, I've had somebody tell me never do a publishing deal, right? Then I had the same person tell me, unless it's life-changing numbers.
Right.
Okay. So if you see yourself on your way out of the game or somewhere in a retirement mode, which I think Wayne is in, I'm not saying that he stopped, but he's definitely slowed down. He's trying to get to a quality of life. He's trying to probably be more healthy, reconnect with the family. Whatever was lost is being found in this moment, right? So, yeah. What am I gonna do? I got like, I'm 50 right now. I'm 49 right now. I got what? Maybe hopefully another 35, 40 joints in the world, hopefully, right? Look at where he's at, like 60 million. Give me that. Are you serious? 60 million. Give me that.
No, the number was actually 100 million. He sold it to Universal Music Group for 100 million.
Okay.
Give me that. And he probably gets, and what's real about that is he's probably getting a small percentage of residual on licensing. I'm sure he is.
That's the only way to make it make sense, right?
You can't beat that.
If he stops making music, if he stops touring, and he sells his catalog, like he's got to have some income, right? I know you stack the money makes money for you, but living the lifestyle that he's lived for as long as he's lived it, he's got to have money coming in, or he's got to downgrade his lifestyle a step.
I think he probably would be in a space where when you do something like that, you know you're going into a whole nother mode. Like God just has you in a whole nother place. Because you don't even know the energy behind selling that catalog what it's really about either. You know what I'm saying? Like I sold a whole record collection because there was a lot of pain behind those records. Like I was flipping them records in some very dark places. You like mentally. And I needed a change. And I sold the whole record collection and started all over again.
Wow.
I don't care if I got doubles of it. I don't care. I just need all of this out of the crib. And and then that was just like crazy records like Zoo and all of these crazy like $100 records, right? But, you know, I didn't sell my machine. You know what I'm saying? I still got my original 2000 in the closet. You see what I'm saying? So you don't know what energy came with him selling that catalog. You know what I'm saying? Like spiritually, what he was getting off of his chest a little bit.
Yeah. Plus,
I can feel that.
Plus, Wayne was the original. Wayne
Yeah.
was the original Nick Cannon. He was having mad kids. So who knows? It might have been a little motivation to go. You know what? Yeah, I can let this go for 100. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, that's like those are numbers. That's numbers. That's just like 100 million. Man, I gotta do that one.
I can't even
After
see
tax,
those numbers.
You're looking at what? 55, 60 of actual liquid after taxes.
Liquid. That's the key.
Right.
That's crazy
liquid
money.
for 60 million is a retarded liquidity.
I like liquidity.
That is retarded. That's like the dumbest kind of number to have sitting in any bank. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like your accountant will remind you, you have 60 million in the bank, right? Like, yeah, you did the deal. Stupid.
Right. They were like, oh yeah, I ain't got to do this other shit. Okay, you're right.
Yeah, I actually can do that on a private island by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
With all
that's how it goes. Normally, nah, don't sell nothing because you never know. Like how technology changed. Like the Motown era, they didn't see that. They didn't see the streaming and all that coming. If they would have held on to, if those family members had got passed down some of that publishing, whole generations of people's lives would be changed right now. Because it's still be coming into the family trust. You know what I'm saying? So rule of thumb, like, I don't. Right.
I mean, his whole radio stations built off of just that music. Nothing else.
Just that music. That's a guaranteed, damn near guaranteed, spin cycle every year. You could guarantee that money. So it's like, rule of thumb, don't sell anything. If it's the right number and you're in the right place with it, where you've seen money, you've spent money, you wasted money. And I think Wayne is at a place where he's mature enough to have 60 million. Some people ain't even ready for a $500,000.
No. Look, if they dropped $500,000 off on me, 200,000 of it would be just blown. Y'all would be slapping me on the back of the head. Nigga, you bought what?
$500,000. My wife would tie me in the house because she know I would be going to the strip club for at least one day. For one day. And she can't afford me to go that one day. Because that one day it may all be gone.
From everybody.
Everybody. Strawberry, come on, you too. Like, what is going on?
What is this gelato shipped from Italy about, Dave? You know what I'm saying? Like, I love it though. I can't stop eating it. I got 100 million. I'm gonna eat it. You know what I'm saying? Like, niggas go crazy over bread. You know what I'm saying? Shit. Yeah. You think a nigga that love Popeyes now ain't gonna dive out the window if he get $1 million? He get Popeyes every 5 minutes.
Just give me the shot. You got a cholesterol shot, right? Okay, just be ready for me.
I'm saying.
So talk to us about
what emailed my order in.
Right. Talk to us about what you're doing now. Since the pandemic and people try to say post-pandemic. It's not post. We're still in the middle of it. But what do you have going on now?
Quite honestly, I have been playing pool. like a motherfucker.
Okay.
Like in the middle of this, I like right before pandemic, like, you know, I just didn't have anything to calm down. Like, you know, I didn't have no way to like really unwind. And it's another thing. I just got good at it quick. Like within 4 weeks, I was just like busting niggas' ass on the fuck. I was like just playing pool like a madman, you know? And so I play pool. I'm thinking about like really getting a fire ass trainer and maybe going like semi pro with pool, man.
Oh man.
I like pool like that. Like it does something for me when I could put all my issues and all of my frustrations. Pools for me is what you know what can be for somebody named Mike, you know?
And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is for me. And
You can just stop everything and just leave it there.
Just for everybody watching, I blanked out the name that he said because I don't want you motherfuckers crashing my spot.
Now I said somebody's name. I didn't say it was you.
Somebody named Mike. You'll find 10 niggas named Mike in the same spot.
I should have said Pizza Hut. Damn. No, that wouldn't be believable.
No,
anyway.
I mean that's real talk, right? So it's funny to hear you say that. Like, I need that thing. Where I
because I know y'all thought I was gonna say music, something musical. Like, no, I'm playing pool right now.
That's dope.
It's bringing me joy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I found something else that I'm good at.
That's really dope.
And then probably agriculture or something, like learn how to plant some stuff, and you know what I mean? Outside of that,
construction.
Yeah.
I started building during COVID. And that shit is cathartic as hell. But the problem is I don't have time for it. It's like that takes time. You get immersed and you're like sanding shit for hours. And I just don't have that kind of time.
Like when you get into it, you lose the hours. You're just so immersed. Like everybody I know that started to grow, same thing. Yeah. Everybody I know that started to grow is the same thing. Like they fall in love with the buds and it becomes a nurturing, like children. And I got to take care of these little guys and look at the little trees, like the little, you know what I'm saying? Like, and they can't think about nothing else. Like they got the whole weed grow going. You know what I'm saying?
You want to hear something funny? I envy you guys because you found a niche, something to release stress. I found it a little bit, but it's stressful all in itself. I started doomsday shopping. That was my thing during the pandemic.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Doomsday shopping. I'm already a gun owner. I bought more guns.
Right.
I was shopping. First of all, when I bought more guns, and then I was like, we need a shotgun for the house. We don't need no shotgun. And then when I got it, we nicknamed it. Mike, you have to beep the name out. We nicknamed it Sam Jackson. And so when shit go down, it's any type of questionable noise happen in the house or in the neighborhood. My wife now goes, "Hey, go get Sam Jackson." So it's from the same woman that said we don't need this shit. So in any case, that was my thing. Now I've kind of turned the page. Now I'm back into boxing. I put a whole gym in the basement, whole boxing gym, a little more healthy than collecting guns. I still will collect guns though, but that's my thing now.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta get my hands on that that Ruger 57 at some point. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And a couple of other things. I want to get my daughter the GX4 or something like that, little Taurus.
Oh, that's a little pocket joint.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I got a version of that and some other things, but it's like, yeah, I could, like when you know how to respect that, the energy that comes with that and how to put it away and bring it out when you need to.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's cool. But it's just like, yeah, I needed something to just like not be doing music 18 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? I started off like 8 beats a day. Like I was on it, like I'm still on it like that. Like I'm doing 4, maybe 4. I'll do like 6 and like 3 or 4 of them, you know? So I used to just for years just be binging doing music all day. And so to have something else to do is kind of enjoyable. So what else am I working on? You know, probably a cooking show. You know what I mean? Like
nice. Nice. That's dope.
You know what I'm saying? I just shot, but musically, you know, I got an album out called Beatboxing, and that was kind of like it was a bit of an iconic little underground beat record, and I tried to make it different where it wasn't just a beat tape like ID to ID, just beats.
Right.
I tried to add little cinematic things to it and sound bites to make it feel like it was the soundtrack to some sort of cinematic thing going on. So I'll probably answer that record with that's beatboxing, maybe with spitboxing. I'm torn between the name because spitboxing would just be like, you know, adding a rhyme to it. Or bar hopping. That's another name I had for the album, bar hopping. And
I like that.
So it's either gonna be the bar hop or it's gonna be spitboxing. So on that level, I'm gonna do that. And then you know, De La still, you know how that go. That's like when they calling, you know how that go. I got called recently from some of the crew members of Far Side to work. You know what I'm saying? Like I get calls from a lot of different people. It's just like it's just gotta feel right, you know? And it has to be a certain kind of like camaraderie. You know what I'm saying?
So I recently, this is like completely left because it brought me to mind to what's his name? J.R. Smith just enrolled in North Carolina A&T. He wants to play golf now.
Mm-hmm.
After having a successful career in the NBA and all that, now he wants going back to college to play golf.
Mm-hmm.
It got me thinking because I at one point I worked with Steve Harvey. And he said something before I worked with him. He said something that's always stuck with me. It could be too late. You can be too early for something, but never too late. Is there something in your youth that you wanted to do that you would still consider doing now?
Wow, that's deep. That's a good question.
For me, it's stand-up comedy. When I was a teenager, I thought I considered wanting, you know, I got into DJing, got into broadcasting and all that, right? But I remember, you know, grew up in New York City. So remember there's a theater um called La Mama on, was it East 4th, 2nd? It's off
It's in
Broadway side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's Lower East.
Yeah.
Is it Lower East Side? Yeah.
Uh-huh. I worked there as a teenager, and
wow.
And first time I met Guru there. They did a MTV Raps episode there. It's random. But in any case, I tried my hand at stand-up in there, you know, amongst some you know, other coworkers and stuff there as a teenager. Never tried it again until I was an adult. And I got into radio because I consider myself funny. I think I'm funny. And actually got to do it. You know, I've been blessed to, you know, have opportunities to open for DL, and Tommy Davidson was one that gave me my first shot on stage.
That's dope.
So I'm 48 now. Comedy is something that you can do well into, you know. So that's something I'm looking forward to spending more time in. There's something
that's really dope. Yeah, there was one point when I was in New York, like a lot in the village, like just everybody from Queens was always coming to the village, Greenwich Village. It was just that spot, it's the vibe. You know what I mean? That's where all the art was happening. There was a period that I was being scouted at the same time, like Tyson Beckford was out there, like being scouted by like Wilhelmina and like modeling agencies. Like I had a couple of scouts run up on me, like, "Yo, you should model. You have a great look and all of this." And I never did it because certain issues I thought that came with that world. But looking at how media and everything fuses a certain way with celebrity, I think if I would have done that, I would have had a way to segue some other things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just because you know how the Rolodex will change. Like presidents water boys become presidents. You know what I'm saying? So you'll have a Rolodex full of names that are one thing with a certain purpose, and then 10 years after that, they've all elevated to some other thing. So, I feel like maybe if I would have jumped into the modeling and did some things politically there, it might have put me maybe as a music producer, maybe in the soundtrack world a little easily or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not a regret, but it's something that I think about.
Right. No, never a regret, because we make choices based on what's going on at the time for us and whatever's happening, right? But
yeah, and in the way it's set up now, like all of these like the same rules the rules back then don't even apply. Like I could be 170 right now and model still. You know what I'm saying? Like seriously.
Yeah. Listen, Lizzo out here with her ass all out.
I'm saying, but buns.
Yo,
everywhere, buns for everyone.
Everywhere, and I appreciate it. I celebrate that big ass. Like that's some nice Lizzo. That's some nice cheeks.
100% unequivocal buns. And she's not lying about. Huh?
When T starts talking about Lizzo, he know I'm fighting the jokes. I think you be setting me up, bro. I think you set me up.
Yo, that's just like a tiger that takes off in the bedroom and you attached to it, like, whoa, hold on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Jane, stop this crazy thing.
Jane.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah. If I would have done that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I thought about like.
Yeah, we lost your video. Hey, we lost your video real quick.
Lost my video? Okay.
There you go.
My battery was dying. I think about stuff like if I would went to, because I got a full scholarship to Berklee School of Music off of a tape where I was drum soloing, right?
Oh.
But I started touring. Right. That was the decision I had to make. Okay, you gonna go to college or you gonna start touring and getting this bread, which would have led me somewhere else. It would have probably even led me to where I'm at right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I could have been a drummer with a degree in notation and broke as hell right now. Who knows? Or I could be teaching somewhere. But at this moment, I'm Supa Dave West. You know what I'm saying? So it's what it is. But I thought about what if I would have done the scholarship thing, how to change the whole trajectory.
And life would have been just as fulfilling for you as well. You know what I'm saying?
It's just been different. Yeah.
Yeah, just different. I think, my grandfather passed away back in
condolences.
Roy Battle. He was hardworking man, had 2 daughters, my mom and my aunt. Hardworking man, he, and took care of his family and everything, right? Tired in 70s, But I got to see glimpses of a life he had before before I knew him as he worked for the city. He worked for the school. Schools. Um, he was in a doo-wop group called the Five Fellows. They had
Wow.
records. They did.
Wow.
There was an entire. They did a write up on his group. Um, and I forget the cat's name. He just loved doo-wop groups and wanted to tell the stories of lesser known doo-wop acts, and reached
Mm.
out like randomly. Reached out, got in contact with my grandfather and his other band members and interviewed and highlighted them. And I got to see how proud and of he was of his work and the music that he had did. But there
Mm.
was never there was never any regrets. He never had any regrets that he didn't, elevate to be more known hip hop. I mean, a doo-wop group. It was
Mm.
just, that's just what life does. You make choices, and you know, he had children at the time, and decided, you know what, doo-wop thing, I enjoy doing it. I'll do it on the side, but I got to go work. That's
Yeah.
that's where it took. But I
Yeah.
got to see him be. I got to see him before he passed away be celebrated.
Mm. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And to really live it, like have it come full circle and be celebrated.
Yeah.
And you did what you needed to do. You made the right decision for you. You know what I mean? But the world still rises something that really didn't full-fledged happen all the way to a finish. But to still get the accolade and to still get the love on it is great. You know what I mean?
Or look at it as this is where it was going to go. This is, you know what I mean? Like you can't
Yeah,
have
this is it.
yeah, you can't have the regret. I mean, that's kind of what
Mhm.
I've learned.
Like
That's
my
kind of what I've learned.
a little bit of that is like my father's story. My father was a drummer. Dave, I don't know if I told you that when we first talked. My father was a drummer.
Okay.
And he's I remember being young, and he used to sit me down when we used to listen to music. Like I remember when Prince was out, and we was like, Prince is the bomb, and he was like, that ain't nothing but funkadelic rehash, and it's Little Richard, and he would sit down and put on the records and take us through the records and just deconstruct it. He deconstruct Prince and then deconstruct it and put it back together to where you could see it, where Prince got his inspiration from or whatever. But I remember talking to him when I was younger, and I asked him why didn't he still drum? He said because I had kids. He literally sold his drum set to help pay for food and different stuff for the kids and never went
Mhm.
back to it. But he's living now, still married, happy, retired, living his life, but he has no real regrets. But a part of me, when I got into music, I was driven to succeed in music to do it for my father. That was a huge part what was
Mm.
driving.
Mm. Mm. It's funny, like my situation was a little different in that sense where I had to kind of like fight regret of maybe not giving my daughter another sibling because I knew where I was and how I was rocking and the momentum of how I was rocking. I basically family planned one child. And I said to myself, I'm going to have a Capricorn like me. So we got to pounding out around the spring sometime, right? So our family planned to have a Capricorn that I could understand and it was easier for me to raise. And I said, I'm probably going to have one child. I talked to her mom, who's, my ex at this time. Back then, I talked to her about it. We family planned that. And I felt kind of a regret that maybe I should have had two more, you know what I'm saying? Or like, at least give my daughter like a brother or a sister, you know what I'm saying? But then because of all the love that I kind of missed out in a certain way on when I was younger, I just had all of this love to give this kid, you know what I'm saying? So she didn't really miss a beat, you know? And it kind of put me back where I am now. Well, like I'm living right now, I'm 49. I'm not acting like a 19-year-old. but I have the access of a 19. Like I can move around. You know what I'm saying? If I need to be in London right now for 2 months, I'm not a soccer mom, right? A soccer dad right now. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
But I had to make that decision to really stay in the momentum, even though that still slowed it down because I still needed that 20-something years to raise that child a certain way. I wasn't all over the place. I was in very stable, making sure I was around and there. You know what I'm saying?
That's dope.
But the touring had to stop. When Jada came into the picture, my kid, the touring had to stop. You feel me? So that's where it went more into the music production in the studio because I could be in the same city as opposed to touring all over them. Because I was in Germany, Switzerland, France, I was all over the world. You know, between those in Japan, between like 93 and just 97, I was touring everywhere. So that had to change up and I had to turn into a studio musician as opposed to like a tour musician.
That's dope. I mean, so here's a question for you. So in being able to tour and be all over the place, how did that shape your world view?
It's the same one that shapes my kid's worldview. I passed it down. She thinks from a big world perspective. Like I had in Montessori school, like big world perspective down the community. So her vision is wide and vast. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's doing the Black college experience where I come from. And they're either at Howard, they're at Virginia State. There's a couple of 4 different schools that they're at. And I'm in Europe. I'm in Germany at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And I'm getting a whole nother culture education, period. Like I'm seeing the world I'm seeing, like, you know, you see them Harry Potter films?
Yeah.
Yo, when you in New Zealand and you see that shit in front of you, you understand how crazy God is. Like, yo, you are the master builder and painter of all of this shit. Because the layers in watching that shit live is so vivid that it plays tricks on your eyes. It almost looks super hyper Photoshop. That's how thick that and lush that backdrop of the greenery is. You know what I'm saying? So when you start seeing the world like that, you know, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in Russia. I'm in Russia when the wall came down.
Wow.
I'm in Russia when the wall came down and they got their freedom and the KGB went from following me one week to giving me cab rides the next week.
God damn. No, wait. Don't speed past that one. Please.
You feel me? I'm just telling you how vast it's been for me. Like,
that's
I was
crazy.
in Russia. I was in Russia when that happened.
Wow.
And so we playing at nightclubs. I'm doing gigs at spots that are equivalent to the Bronx. Like when you plugging up your DJ equipment to the poles, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We doing parties in abandoned factories the same way he was doing it in the Bronx. I'm doing that in Russia.
Wow.
Look, that's gotta be crazy to see. At the same time, people think different from you, and also they have a very similar experience as you.
Mm-hmm.
That dichotomy has to be kind of like a wake-up call, like a motherfucker.
Oh yeah. It's like all around the world, it's like the same song, man. You know what I mean? It's like the same beautiful song with not too many different lyrics, just like a little bit of the melody and a little bit of like the notation, but it's saying the same things, man. Because that moment in Russia was a South Bronx moment in '84.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Same thing. But I had to see that, and I needed all of that because it rounded me very young. You know what I'm saying? By the time I was 25, like I was rounded. Like I knew what I was trying to do. I wasn't slipping up. I wasn't messing with the wrong girls. Like I was guarding my spirit. I was watching who was thinking about me. I was guarding mind energy, all of that at 24, 25, you know?
Damn.
A certain amount of people, I don't even let them know what I did because I don't want their mind energy on their thoughts on my plans and all of that. And I was meeting people abroad that was explaining all of that, metaphysical and all of that too. So I got all of these things really, really early. And then I had moments where I was at the bar talking people out of killing themselves. You know what I mean? And stuff like deep stuff like that in Europe. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what it did for me. It rounded me out crazily.
So here's a question. With all that's been happening with, within the past year, Black Lives Matter movement, like in the past. And growing up in New York City, we have a similar understanding of race relations in New York. I was a part of a audio documentary with the BBC talking about stop and frisk globally, how police relate to people of color in the country, around the world rather. And in talking with I talked with a sister in Spain, Black sister, born and raised in Spain, spoke the language, but treated like, I can't even say second class citizen. Within the pandemic, in 6 months, she had been stopped, frisked, at least 16, 18.
Damn.
Yeah. All that to say, what I gathered from that experience of talking to people all around the country, to Black people, people of color all around the world, that is, that their experience with police is not very different from what we experience in New York City, in this country. And, your experience of being a world traveler, what do you gather? What was your experience of in dealing with, just people and police? So, like, what is the impression that they have of us when you go abroad?
It depends on, a lot of it can depend on different things, different cultural things. Like in parts of Asia, like they have like really, really vividly shocking imaginations that go into their vision of what Black men are. So they've made it in their mind like Black men are big Black monsters, and they'll hurt you, and they're super strong. Don't get them mad. They'll choke you out. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that. Don't mess with them, right? And then you got like Japan, where women love Black men in Japan, right? And it's intimidating to some of their men. And so then you'll get issues on the street with that, just because they know you a pretty boy, you a Black dude from out of states, and you in Japan pulling mad chicks. So you'll deal with it just off of that energy. You know what I'm saying? Right? But then come back home. I remember a lot of nights in Greenwich Village, Friday and Saturday night, before the quality of life law. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where I was on the corner drinking beer with the cops on West 4th.
Wow.
Chopping it up with the cops, drinking Heinekens with them, and smoking cigarettes. So it's just like, I've had a very different kind of experience with like all of that. You know what I mean? I've had more weird issues in other places, but not in New York City. Not really. Not at all.
And and we've talked about this on the show before. If I had to put a percentage on like my experience with cops negative versus positive, versus positive, I would say about 25-75. 25% negative, 75% positive. And for a long time, I lived in Marietta, like Cobb County. And people are like, don't get stopped in Cobb County. I've been stopped multiple times in Cobb County and had no problems.
You ain't never lying. When I moved here, I was in Cumming. So I went through it too. Same thing though.
But I don't say that to say that other people haven't had those experiences and that those experiences don't exist, and that Black people, our experiences with police are disproportionately negative as compared to other racial groups. I just know anecdotally for me, I haven't had that experience. And let me knock on some wood because I'm gonna leave out of here to go to the
you
spot.
See me, we all finding some pine boxes around this motherfucker.
Right?
You know?
See an Instagram live of me hemmed up on the hood of a car. Like
I'll go find somebody with a peg leg and just knock on their shit real quick. Hold on, baby. Just hold still.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mike know how I feel about East Atlanta right now. My motto was fuck East Atlanta and the cops there too. I was left his house and got pulled over in a rental I wasn't familiar with, like for the tail lights. Hey man, your tail lights is out. Oh, word? Okay. Boop. Oh, they on now. My bad. I'm sorry, it's a rental. I don't live here. I'm going back north. Pop, my bad. All right. Can you prove this is a rental? Yeah, man, here you go. It's paperwork. Boom, boom, boom. You give where's your driver's license? Yeah, here we go. I'm able to legally drive. Should have been the end of it. No, the motherfucker decided to give me a ticket. So fuck him. I'm still trying to decide if I'm gonna come down there to go fight the ticket. It's only $100.
Man, pay that $100 and move on, bro.
I know.
Pay that $100 and let it go, bro.
I mean, I lived in Cumming when I first moved here. So I lived in Cumming when I first moved here, right? Exit 13, 400. Long Lake subdivision. I had a house out there that was, whatever. And I got pulled over multiple times because I'm in Cumming. So it's like, it's far. I'm on the road more than if I lived in Sandy Springs and was going to Buckhead, you know what I mean?
Right.
But when I got pulled over, I'm going to tell y'all fellas, I'm going to tell you something. When I got pulled over, I had more cops that looked out for me. Like I had more cops that was just like, okay, it's like, when did you move? Like I had most of the conversations like, when did you move here? I moved here last year. Okay, let me just explain to you the area you're in. You're in such and such, but these are white and black cops. You're cool right here at this hour. Like if this was happening, this is the mood of the city. This would not be a good time to be. They were giving me game on how to not be racially attacked. And these are the cops doing this.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, yo, just be on your way. Like, have a good night. I never got pulled over. Like I got into actual trouble when I had a thing expired. I think my license was expired and it was some other warrant for something that I did, something squirrely that I did in a bad moment. And a cop from Cumming dropped me off on the way to the joint, bro, and was like, get out my car, man. Like I could just feel in your demeanor and spirit. You were raised really well and you were in a bad spot. Just let's not do this. And he dropped me off in Cumming. I had to have my boy, did I have Pops come pick me up? I had somebody come pick me up. He dropped me off on the side of the road, like in a fast food joint. He was like, man, get out my car.
That's
Shit is crazy.
So my experience has been very different. You know what I'm saying? I was in New York. I was in the West Village. I was pissy, like really gone. To the point where the only thing that my mind could control was the fact that I had passed out in the middle of the street in my car, and I had my calf muscle was on fire when I woke up because my leg had been on the brake pedal in the middle of the street while I was knocked out the whole time. Neighbors call the cops. Like people are going around this car. This car is just in the middle of the street on, I think the guy is just asleep. 2 cops come to the scene. I get a knock on the window. I'm instantly panicking like, oh, they caught me. I passed out. I'm bugging. I'm wilding right now. I'm in the middle of the street. It's 7 a.m. I've been here since 4 a.m. I'm food. I'm going to jail. And I'm pissy. Right? They open the window. They start screaming with laughter. Two Italian cops. They're screaming. They're like, yo, what's wrong with you? I was just like, and right there, this is what made it go over. I went straight into comedy mode. I was like, yo, I bumped my head at a bar and then I woke up here. I don't know what the fuck happened. And so that they're laughing at me. And so he's just like, dude, just pull over, man. So I pull the car over. I get out the car. He was just like, listen, just go home and sleep this shit off. My partner's gonna go. There was a parking lot in the middle of the neighborhood around the corner, right? My partner's gonna go park your car, bring the ticket back. We're gonna watch you get on the train, and we're gonna act like this didn't happen.
Wow.
And the partner took my car around the corner, parked it, while me and the other partner standing there cracking jokes. And the other cop came back, gave me the ticket, and was like, all right, get out of here, man. Like, you just made my morning so special. Like, this is ridiculous. But I was pissy drunk in the middle of the street. Stop. So
I got hit.
You see what I'm saying? So my experience with cops has been a little bit different.
Yeah.
I've never had the whole, like, you know, sprinkle some crack on them and let's get out of here. I've never had none of that shit. Bronson, get him on the floor. Just shoot him, Bronson. I've never had none of that shit.
I've had both, you know, positive interactions, but the negative outweigh the positive. Been more negative for me. There's been more negative interaction than positive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was never a, you know, kid that got into trouble and shit like that. None of that shit. I was never, you know what I mean? I don't think I've never gotten a DUI. Well, knock on wood, I was never driving drunk. But you know, it's when you get pulled over for some bullshit, it's like, dude, don't you have something else to do? You know what I'm saying? Don't you have something? There's somebody right now with a plunger in their ass. You can go help. Why are you fucking with me?
Right.
Somebody is crawling through a window right now with ill intentions.
Well, so see, but this is the issue. If you're consumed, it's like this. If I play like, if I'm doing something I'm supposed to be highly trained at, and I really first couple of weeks I don't know what I'm doing. I might play like I'm in the cafeteria doing some bullshit to not have the doctor call me. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, I think they do a lot of that because if those moments pop off, they're already occupied in something else. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think a lot of that is that too. You know what I'm saying? Like they're doing just little, let me pull this guy over, make my quotas. But if I get that call, like, you know, everybody come to the spot quick. Like, well, I'm actually dealing with something. And because everybody wants to make it home. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to make it home to their 4-year-old and their wife. That's it.
I'll tell you a quick story. Can start to rap. When I lived in Georgia,
I know you rap.
Got some bars, son. But nah, so I was looking for an apartment. I lived on the east side. I was looking for an apartment, and I went to familiar with Pine Lake?
Hell yeah.
So I didn't know any better. At the time, I think I lived in either Decatur or Stone Mountain. But I was looking at an apartment, Pine Lake. For some reason, I didn't like what I saw, so I didn't go in. Whatever. And I got in the car, and I was about to pull off, and I looked up in my rear view, and I saw Lake, Pine Lake. I backed up the car down the block to, you know, slowly down to go check out the lake. I get out the car. I'm fucking with the swans and stuff around the lake. And 2 seconds later, a cop pulls up. Black cop. And, you know, he goes through the motions. Hey, let me see your license registration. I'm like, oh, I'm not even driving at this point, but sure. Okay. All right. Give me a second. Let me get it out the car. My registration is in here somewhere. My insurance, I didn't have any at the time, but I didn't let him know that. I didn't let him know that. And I was like, yeah, let me find it. Here, but here's my license. Here's the registration. Here, let me find it.
Let me find my dirty insurance card. I mean,
right. And he saw, he could see that I wasn't really up to no shit. And he stopped. He was like, so cool. What were you doing over here by the lake? I explained to him. I saw the lake. I'm looking for an apartment. I saw this apartment. Whatever with the case. I saw this back here. And that was it. And he was like, okay, all right. Here's your license back. Listen, they treat each other fucked up. Imagine what they're gonna do to you. I was like, oh, okay. Thank you, officer. I'll be on my way. And I stopped looking for an apartment in Pine Lake, and I got one.
I'm telling you,
that was Pine Lake.
Pine Lake is like. Have you ever been around there, Mike?
Nah.
Pine Lake is like Pine Lake is like somebody put a movie set of Berkeley, California, or some shit, right in the middle of Georgia, with its own police station and courthouse.
Yeah,
smack in the middle of like what is that? The other side of Decatur,
between Stone Mountain and Lithonia.
Yes, Stone Mountain. On the other side of Stone Mountain, there's this whole township that is its own couple of blocks with a lake.
Yes.
And it looks like something straight out of a movie.
Yeah.
And it's racist as hell.
The most racist motherfuckers you will ever encounter in life.
I'm just like, now I know, because when I was over there, this is what ties into what you're saying. I was over there because I was actually looking for a cool crib. I was looking for a house. Something different, something that was laid back, something that was totally kind of like wow factor.
Right. And
I felt like Pine Lake had that, like, oh, this is different. Like, I feel like I'm not even in Georgia.
Right.
I'm right off of 285. You know what I'm saying? Man, just a couple of the conversations I had over there while looking was just like, oh, they're going to lynch me. Like, they're absolutely going to string me up. This is happening. If I stay over here 5 more minutes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just felt crazy over there. So I know the Pine Lake. It's a beautiful little area, but it's weird.
Very weird. I think there was a news story that they had the most tickets out of DeKalb County. Just, how small it is. How they generating the most money by pulling niggas over. Like,
because it's like, yo, we work in this area. We about to go crazy. This is all our area I got. This little township. Everybody get the ticket.
Yeah.
Lassoing niggas.
Yeah, especially if you have a tan.
Was you looking at the lake? After, you know what I mean? What is it? The curfew hours, the park curfew. You know what I mean? Are you out here at the lake after 10:30? Oh no, you're getting a ticket. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, and then the cop explained to me. He said, "You need to have a permit to be here at the lake. I could give you a ticket." I'm not
exactly
just,
right, because it's a whole world. Pine Lake is a whole community with its own set of rules.
Yeah,
inside of Georgia. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could get hemmed up and just be like, "Yo, what is this? I feel like I'm in Europe." You know. Anyway,
nah, man.
Yo, Dave, man, that has been a pleasure sitting here talking with you, brother. For real, man. Like,
man, it's a pleasure talking to y'all too, man. We got years, we got similar years and experience too. So, we could talk all day about a gang of shit.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But that's the wisdom.
Yeah, man. Again, how do Dave, how do people, are you on social media? How do people reach out to you?
Yeah, it's Supa Dave West on Instagram. That's really where I'm at. SupaDaveWest.
Or just look at the screen and write what you see right there. There you go. You know what I mean?
Supa Dave West on Instagram. I don't give out my address anymore, but
Did you do that?
Yeah, I was a nut. I was a total nut. And I lived in like Park Slope, Brooklyn. I used to give out my address. Like, for a good time. Come over here and get some of this turkey gravy.
Last words before we wrap. Any encouraging words for any musicians, producers out there that looking to to go to the next level? Any advice, suggestions you have?
Let's go to the next level. Let's just go. It's a very go mode type of a moment. It's very much 85. It's 82 all over again. It's like the Wild West. There's so many things that can make it happen for you. Just pick the thing that's closest to your actual flow of your life and like your what's resonating with you, like what makes you feel good in your space for what you do. Just go with that. There's no real answers for it anymore. It's just really just like it's back to exploration. You know what I mean? You know, you find your road. You just kind of like get a. You know, the hound gets a sniff on it. Okay, this is where I should be, and it feels right, and you just go. And if you don't like it, you have the right to change it up until you get the success that you want. It's all about momentum. You just can't stop. Once you stop, that's just like dying. You know what I'm saying?
A old coworker once said to me, "If you stop growing, you die."
Mm-hmm.
So,
and when you feel like you've arrived, you die the same way. That's why it's important, even with, you know, music and plaques and all of that. You can't feel like you've ever arrived, really. You just got to find a new mountain to climb.
great.
You got to come back down that fucking hill and find a brand new mountain to climb again. Something else to conquer, something else to be great at, you know, another moment.
And in the case of Lil Wayne, you do it with 60 million liquid in your pocket.
Right.
60 million liquidity.
There are 10 more chicks to be impregnated. So get to it.
You are so whack for that. Well, my balls actually still account for maybe 3 more children. Right. So,
hey, listen, let's get to it. Listen, Nick, again, my Nick Cannon joke. He's at it. He's living his best life, and he's here to repopulate the earth. So listen, Nick, continue.
Yeah, but it's just, but yo, like to dig back into what you just said. It's about the purpose, a purpose-driven life, man. Like, be a conduit. Let God move through you and touch somebody. You know what I mean? Be instrumental in making some sort of a difference in the world, even when you're doing what you want to do. Like if it's what you want to do and it's also touching the world, you can't beat that. Like God honors that a certain way, you know?
Yes.
To keep you protected and keep you strong and keep wisdom around you and all of that.
So, yes. Don't touch somebody like Cuomo. That's not what we're talking about at all. And I think he understands that.
That's a different kind of touch.
That's a different touch.
That ain't knocking on wood. That's some other shit.
That's some other shit. Hey, Dave, thanks for joining us, brother. Hey, folks, for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we appreciate you. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Go to unpopinshow.com, hit the subscribe button. Find us on YouTube and follow us on all socials at Unpopin Show. T Storm, DJ Mike Swift, Dave West, thank you. Peace, y'all.
Yeah.